Welcome into another episode of In the Bonus. My name is Jorie Mickens, and today currently it's 1:12 in the morning, and I am recording this episode after Tuesday night's slate of games. Those games being the Brooklyn Nets versus the Boston Celtics, the Los Angeles Lakers and the Phoenix Suns, and the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers. And as you can tell by the title of this video, I will primarily be focusing on the first two games that I mentioned, that being Brooklyn, Boston, and Los Angeles, Phoenix. And then I'll sprinkle in a little bit of thoughts about the Dallas Clippers series as well. But to kick things off, the first game of the night, that being the Nets taking down the Boston Celtics 130-108 in game two. This game kind of reminded me a lot of the Milwaukee Bucks Miami Heat game that I reviewed actually yesterday, that game too, because really in that first quarter, again, Brooklyn just got super hot, and a lot of it was three-point shooting, per usual in the NBA nowadays. And, of course, the culprit for the Brooklyn Nets was Joe Harris, who is one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. But Brooklyn got out to a 40-26 advantage in the first quarter, and they really never looked back. Pretty sure they didn't trail at any point during this game. So it was really just, again, like I mentioned yesterday with the Bucks-Heat game, it was a wire-to-wire victory for the Brooklyn Nets. And again, I didn't take any notes watching this game. I really should start doing that. I did that a lot during regular season games, but when there's three games that I want to talk about, it is a lot to try and take in. So I'm just going off the dome here. But a few things that I saw in this game, especially in that first quarter. What I saw, this is probably so obvious. Brooklyn's offense is just ridiculous. And, I'll explain why, but, everyone knows this. Everyone knows that a team with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Joe Harris, and Blake Griffin in your starting lineup is going to be able to score on any defense in the NBA. But I feel like in this game in particular, it really just encapsulated how good Brooklyn can be offensively, especially even now in the playoffs. Everyone was concerned of how this team would mesh in the playoffs. There was concerns about the big three, that being Durant, Irving, and Harden, not playing as many games as they may have needed to during the regular season. I feel like they're kind of just thwarting those concerns really early on in the playoffs. And one thing I told Justin on the Full Court Report on our last episode was I think Brooklyn, as the playoffs continue on and as they continue to play more games together, they're only going to get stronger. They're only going to figure out how to play with one another more and more. Their defense in this game, I'm going to talk about their offense, but their defense looked really, really solid in this game. They looked locked in. Kevin Durant especially. Kevin Durant does not get enough appreciation for how good he is defensively. I know he was on some really good, obviously those Golden State teams that he was on in the past were really good, but I think a lot of that credit got thrown onto Draymond and Klay Thompson, and rightfully so. Those are two really, really good defenders. But Durant, in this game, they would throw him on Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker, who's literally like a foot shorter than Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant is just somehow able to stay in front of Kemba like he's the same size. And only you have to remember Kevin Durant is like 6'11", running around trying to stay in front of this short, agile, really fast guard. And he's doing a tremendous job at that. And then at the same time, he's tall enough and athletic enough, to defend the rim at the same time. Like Kevin Durant is really one of the most versatile defenders, honestly, in the league, I think. And everyone loves to mention his scoring prowess, his offensive prowess, and rightfully, again, he's definitely one of the greatest scorers of all time. but I feel like his defense can get overlooked at times, and it was definitely on display today. But offensively, when Joe Harris is cooking like he was today, so Joe Harris, he had 25 points in this game, shot 7 of 10 from 3, 9 for 14 from the field. I mean, when he's shooting like he was today, this team is basically unstoppable. I mean, there's literally nothing you can do against this team, defensively. And I think, the title of this video is what would a Brooklyn Nets Los Angeles Lakers series look like? I mean, it would be the best offense versus the best defense in theory. I mean, I would love to see that chess match between those two coaches, Steve Nash and Frank Vogel. Obviously, the duos, LeBron James and Anthony Davis versus the big three. I would love to see it, and I think the whole NBA landscape would love to see it. But I feel like this offense Brooklyn has is just ridiculous. It doesn't. I don't know how you game plan against something like this when everyone is cooking. So one thing that I took away from this game, I keep mentioning Joe Harris. Joe Harris, I think, had 16 points, I believe, in the first quarter. I didn't mark it down, so I'm kind of just going off what I believe it was 16 points, something along the lines of 16 points, I think, in that first quarter. And there were times, after the first quarter, obviously he's still pretty hot from shooting as well as he did earlier on in the game. There were times where the Celtics looked lost defensively, and he was just running rampant around the floor on offense, because you have to account for Durant getting the ball in the mid-post, posting up. Obviously, Kyrie Irving doing his thing with the ball in his hands or moving without the basketball. The hottest player on the floor in Joe Harris at that time, at least, was essentially their third or fourth option. I mean, that's ridiculous. Because, again, you have to worry about Durant, who's basically a bucket at anywhere on the floor, but a lot of the time he gets it, again, like I mentioned, in that mid-post area. He's going to try and back his way down into a turnaround J, or just pull up and use his, like I've mentioned earlier, his insane height and size to just shoot over any defender. And then Kyrie attacking the basket, again, whether it's attacking the basket and getting crafty finishes or shooting from, again, anywhere on the floor, he has really, really deep range as well. It's just so hard to defend this team. And Boston, they didn't even do that poorly of a job. And they have pretty capable defenders. They have Marcus Smart. Tristan Thompson is a workhorse down low at least. But it's kind of hard to play. And this is a point that I think is going to be huge in a potential Nets-Lakers series. The Lakers, and I'll kind of mention this when I talk. Well, I guess I can kind of transition now into the Lakers game. So Anthony Davis didn't have the best of game ones against the Suns. He certainly bounced back here in game two. He had 34 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, nearly triple-double in this game. He also had 3 blocks and a steal. I mean, Anthony Davis was great. He shot 21 free throws in this game. So he was definitely drawing a lot of fouls. And I think you can kind of credit that to the fact that Jay Crowder dealt with foul trouble early on. So they had Dario Saric in trying to defend Anthony Davis early on, and that didn't go well. But he was just racking up the fouls and getting to the free throw line. I'm very intrigued to see this potential matchup. Again, it's not certain for sure. Like it's obviously not certain. The Lakers have a long ways to go, as do the Nets. But it feels like they're just two completely different teams. Because I feel like Brooklyn is very perimeter oriented, from what I've seen, at least in the playoffs early on. And then the Lakers are just very willing to, not that they can't shoot from threes. They do have capable three-point shooters on this team. KCP, I mean, earlier on in the season, I'm pretty sure KCP had like the highest 3-point field goal percentage in the NBA. I don't know where he is now, but he at one point he was one of the most efficient 3-point shooters in the league. Dennis Schroeder, I mean, he can get a 3-point shot off. Obviously, LeBron has extended his range from anywhere on the floor, but for the most part, and in this game especially, the Lakers made it kind of a focal point to feed their bigs and play through Anthony Davis and even Andre Drummond at times. I mean, Andre Drummond had 15 points in this game, also 12 rebounds for him. LeBron did his thing, his usual thing, 23 points and 9 assists. But again, for the most part, it felt like it was their bigs doing a lot of the work. And I wonder how Brooklyn, I know I talk so much about how Brooklyn is great offensively, and they looked a lot better defensively. They really did in this game, in game 2 against the Celtics. But I don't know how they would match up against guys like Andre Drummond, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. You know, the front court players. Again, I just said Brooklyn is a very perimeter-oriented team, both I think offensively and defensively. It would be so interesting to see how they would match up with the Lakers if they would either, one, just get played off the floor because they can't deal with Los Angeles' size, or vice versa, where Los Angeles has to downsize. And we've seen them, they can downsize. They did that in their series against the Rockets during the bubble. The Rockets had that really wacky team where they pretty much played P.J. Tucker at center. And, you know, they didn't have anyone over like 6'6" or something in their rotation for the most part, or something ridiculous. Like it was, I think, it was something like Robert Covington, I think, might have been the tallest player in their rotation. I mean, it's not that the Lakers can't go small and play Anthony Davis at the 5 or even, but I feel like for the most part, that's what they want to do is play big. And Frank Vogel, I mean, that's what he loves. He loves having his massive front courts. He did when he was the coach in Indiana, and now he does with Los Angeles. I'm interested to see how those two teams would go up against one another, both offensively and defensively. But I mean, these games were very interesting. Brooklyn, definitely more of a dominant performance than the Lakers did. But I mean, obviously both teams won. Brooklyn going up 2-0 against the Celtics, and then Los Angeles tying the series at 1-1 in Phoenix. I mean, I think Brooklyn is going to handle the Celtics moving forward. Jason Tatum did leave the game early. He only played 21 minutes in this game. But even before he left, he was really, really struggling just to get a shot off even. Shot 3 of 12 from the field, just scored 9 points in this game. So he did not look like his usual self, and his status for Game 3 is probably up in the air. Not sure what his deal is. I mean, he got poked in the eye. That was the injury, but we'll see if he'll be able to recover and play in Game 3 for the Celtics. If not, I mean, this series might be over. It might be over regardless, but without Jason Tatum, I don't see the Celtics winning a game in this series. And this Lakers-Suns series also has a lot of injury implications, as Chris Paul, who injured his shoulder in Game 1, he did not look like his usual self at all in this one. He played just 23 minutes, scored 6 points, had 5 assists. I mean, it was good to see him out there. And a lot of the broadcasters on the game that I was watching, at least, were mentioning how even though he might not be 100%, it's just good to have him out, and his mere presence alone will help the younger players like Devin Booker, like DeAndre Ayton, step up, have more confidence. And obviously the defense is going to be drawn to Chris Paul, but he just looked a little bit slower than normal, I think, in this game. Couldn't really make the same impact that he has all season long for the Suns. And if he's not 100%, It's going to be really, really difficult for Phoenix to win this series. And, moving forward, hopefully he can get healthy. It sucks to see Chris Paul always get injured in the playoffs, it feels like. I mean, he did so when he was with the Rockets in 2018, I believe. He missed the final 2 games of that Golden State series. It just really sucks to see him always deal with injuries at the worst times, but hopefully he'll be able to bounce back in game 3 and 4 in Los Angeles. Those are going to be very, very crucial games in this series. If they can tie it up and come back to Phoenix with the series tied at 2-2, that's huge. If they go down 3-1, that might be curtains for Phoenix. But regardless, this game was a lot of fun to watch. It was Cameron Payne had a really, really good performance off the bench for Phoenix. He had 19 points, dished out 7 assists in this game. But again, I mean, everyone expects Los Angeles and Brooklyn, or at least at the beginning of the season. I'm not sure what the general consensus is right now. I mean, at the moment, with Utah down 1-0 to Memphis, the Clippers, who I'm going to mention in a second, down 0-2. They dropped the first 2 games in Los Angeles to Dallas. I mean, it's entirely possible that the Lakers and maybe even the Mavericks are in the Western Conference Finals at this point. I mean, Utah, I think Utah will bounce back against Memphis, especially if Donovan Mitchell is healthy. I think he said he's going to be ready to go for game 2. But Phoenix looks like they might be a first-round exit, depending on Chris Paul's availability and if Anthony Davis can continue to play at the way he did in this game, in game 2. And then I mentioned the Clippers. Clippers, what the hell? What the hell is going on? I mean, I shouldn't say that because it's Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic he's playing like one of the best. He's playing like an MVP. He's playing like one of the top 5 players in the NBA right now. He had 39 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists tonight against the Clippers in a 127-121 victory in Game 2. Dallas stole both games in Los Angeles from the Clippers, and now they are heading to Dallas with an opportunity to go up 3-0 in this series. If the Clippers don't win Game 3, it's over. I mean, that's pretty obvious considering no team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in a playoff series. But this series, I mean, I couldn't have predicted this in a million years. I thought the Clippers would handle business. I thought the series was going to be competitive. No way did I see Dallas taking both games in Los Angeles. I really thought after Game 1 that would have lit a fire under the Clippers and made them come out and perform. And that's not to say they didn't perform. Kawhi Leonard had a vintage playoff moment. Kind of reminded me of his 2019 playoff run with the Raptors. 41 points, shot 14 of 21 from the field, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. And Paul George, I mean, he had a pretty good game himself. 28 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 12 of 22 from the field. It was really the supporting cast that couldn't get the job done for Los Angeles. I mean, everyone else really shot pretty inefficiently throughout the rest of the roster. Defensively, I mean, they couldn't stop anyone. From the minutes that I did see, because I was kind of flipping back and forth between the Lakers game and this Mavericks game. But I mean, from what I saw, they just could not stop Luka. They couldn't stop Porzingis. Tim Hardaway Jr. had yet another great performance. He hit 28 points, shot 6 of 8 from 3. I mean, this team going back to Dallas, they have all the momentum. I'm sure they're very excited to play in front of that home crowd. This could get really, really ugly for the Clippers. And it's now more than just them getting clowned on social media. I mean, I feel like they can endure that. I think this could potentially cost them Kawhi Leonard, because he has a player option, I do believe, a player option this offseason. And if the Clippers get bounced in the first round, I mean, I don't know. That does not look good for that franchise, for that organization. And if I'm Kawhi Leonard, I think I got to find a better place to where I can not waste my prime years with this franchise. I got to find a better organization, a better place to play. I don't know where that place is. I'm sure we'll talk about that on an episode of the Full Court Report. But I mean, this is just shocking. But I love it. I mean, I'd love to see Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is just so much fun to watch. I love seeing them. I love seeing him just succeed at such a young age. It's really incredible to watch Doncic do what he does. But this was a fun night of basketball. It really was. And I know I probably didn't address the question or the title of this video as much as I wanted to. I think I probably should have, again, took more notes for this video, watching these games. But I think a Nets-Lakers series would be as entertaining as any series in the conference, or excuse me, in the NBA Finals. I think it's obvious that chess match, both offensively and defensively, would be a ton of fun to watch. It would feature, obviously, all the league's best players: Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. It would feature so many superstars. I mean, it would be so much fun. But that's not to say there aren't other potential finals matchups that wouldn't be entertaining as well. But again, this was just a kind of an idea that popped into my head because I watched those games back to back, and it's certainly a possibility. But tomorrow, or I guess technically today, Wednesday, there's going to be 3 more games. I don't know what to expect really from these games. I think probably the most entertaining one will be the Knicks-Hawks game. I think the Sixers are going to take care of the Wizards in game 2. I don't think they're going to give them any kind of life. And then I think now with Donovan Mitchell back in that Jazz-Grizzlies series, I would imagine the Jazz get back on track and even up the series at 1-1 at home in Utah. And if they don't, I mean, if the Grizzlies somehow go up 2-0, I will be baffled. I mean, I'll literally be shocked. So I do think that Hawks-Knicks game is going to be really, really fun to watch. I didn't get to catch much of the first game, but I'm very excited to see MSG rocking again. Let's see if Julius Randle can kind of bounce back, and to see if Trae Young can continue to dominate like he did in Game 1, because, I mean, that'll be a very interesting storyline to see as well. A lot of young players in that series. I mean, shout out to Julius Randle, though. I mean, speaking of Julius Randle, he did win Most Improved Player of the Year award earlier today, so shout out to Julius Randle. But, yeah, I mean, those 3 games are certainly going to be a lot of fun to watch. Potentially might do another episode. Who knows? Who knows if I take notes? I never know. I'm kind of just doing this thing on the fly. But, hey, that's me. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. This was another edition of In the Bonus. My name is Jorie Mickens. Again, a lot of really good NBA playoff basketball going on. And potentially I'll see you tomorrow. If not, maybe the next day. If not, I'll see you on the Full Court Report. But thank you so much for listening, and stay safe, everyone.